The next song's called Visible Unseen. It's probably my favorite song we've ever made. It's a whole lot of fun to play, and looking forward to playing at all sorts of rooms live. Visible Unseen is based on sort of an apocalypse that I've had speaking to young people at shows. We did a headlining tour about a year and a half ago, our first ever one, in March of 2017. And during that tour, I spoke with a pretty large number of LGBT youth. I spoke with a lot of them about their current situation. And in speaking with them, I noticed that over half of them, I would say, were living in some sort of transient state, which is to say that they didn't really have a stable place of living. And a number of those transient youth were living in such a way because their families had more or less rejected them. They didn't have a place to live, a place to call home. That really started this process of reading about a phenomenon that I previously didn't know about, which is the entire population of homeless youth. A disproportionate amount of them are LGBT. And this phenomenon of homeless LGBT youth is more than a statistic to me. It's names, it's faces, it's young people who have impacted my life with their stories. And so I wrote this song, Visible Unseen, to discuss how did we get here, I guess. How do so many families, for religious reasons, you know, they claim to believe in a God of love, or they claim to believe in Jesus, who loved the most rejected people by society and gave them a home. And people are kicking out their own kids from their homes, or are exiling them, are saying, you're too flawed to be mine, or you are going to hell and I can't go with you, is the narrative that some of these youth hear. And asking myself, how did I go so long without noticing this? That this phenomenon is something that I was largely blind to, and it's why I call the visible unseen. It's a population of people who aren't being seen, they aren't being loved, they aren't being held in a community. And they're visible, you know, they exist, but they're not being seen. And there's such a difference, I find, between hearing something and listening. There's such a difference, I find, between being able to visually see something, but then actually see it and recognize it. This song kind of goes between quotes and things that I've heard from the youth. For instance, saying, am I only flawed when I'm alive? Only your child if I live my life denied. And then asking God, I ask of you benevolence, was I made just to be broken? Something that I've heard youth say, that they believe in God, they want to believe in God, but how can they believe that God maybe made them to be broken, to be flawed, to not be good enough? And hearing this pain changes you. As we discussed, Tim, in a video probably 3 years ago, the question for me shifted away from harmatology. Is it right or wrong? You know, how am I going to be the judge of how someone lives their life? To like, am I going to listen to someone's pain? Am I going to be able to recognize the personhood of someone who's talking to me? Is their existence worthwhile? And yes, of course the answer is yes. But a lot of people, unfortunately, might not agree with that statement. And you see suicide rates so high among these youth. And I've seen that used by political pundits to justify, well, it's because they're wrong. Well, maybe it's because they're bullied. Maybe it's because a disproportionate amount of them don't have a home, don't have a place to live. And so this song is for me as a straight dude trying to understand something that I lived my life oblivious to for so long. And Visible Unseen is probably the most emotional song we've ever written, because it's trying to, I guess, apologize to the many people that I just walked past that I didn't see because I didn't understand their story and because I was too blind to notice it. And is really a challenge, I guess, to folks who don't experience homelessness, who might have a more accepted sexuality, to try to listen, to try to understand. I don't think the goal should ever be to have the right answers and to be able to tell people what they need to like be or whatever, but to be able to listen to people, to be able to recognize their humanity, and to see what we share in common, because we share a lot more in common than what makes us different. I'm very interested to see what folks think about this song, because it's a phenomenon that was utterly apocalyptic and written from the perspective of young people who are going through this apocalypse of the way that I love, I'm being told is so wrong that I'm now cast out and I'm left to be homeless and to figure out my life at the age of 15 and 16, to try to tell their stories and try to do justice to that topic. And I probably never could fully, just like I can never do justice to any topic, but it's a conversation that I think needs to happen. That if you believe you are a loving person, if you believe that you believe in a loving God, if you believe that you share a basic morality that humans have value, what are you going to do knowing that so many youth are homeless and cast away because of who they are? And how can we make a world better for people who just know rejection? Because there's no rejection like being told by your own flesh and blood that you don't belong. This song is for those youth, for those people, and I hope a conversation starts. The goal for me isn't to be right or wrong. I don't care if you think I'm right or wrong. The goal for me is to start that conversation, hopefully to validate some people that are being told you're not enough, because you are enough. And you're beautiful and you have a reason to live. And if you're watching this video and you've experienced that rejection as LGBT youth, I pray that you would see just how beautiful, how incredible the fact that you're here, that you exist is, and that your love is wonderful and that you are enough.